try not to get too caught up in the whole comparison game because hey everybody, Chris Bello here. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. In today's episode, I want to talk about how comparison is the thief of joy. This is something that was said in a clubhouse room maybe over a year ago at this point, and it really stood out to me because I was finding myself getting caught up in comparison mode and looking at what other people are doing and seeing how much more successful other people are than me in certain areas. And it was very overwhelming in a way where I just felt like I could never keeping up with the Joneses, so to say, and that everyone else was seeming to have more success more quickly than me. And when I heard that comparison is the thief of joy, it really just reminded me of how much I have, how much I have to be appreciative of, and how much I've actually accomplished. And social media, I think, is the biggest culprit here because it can rob us of joy. And I just have a couple notes here that I want to talk through today. That someone may have a nicer house. There may be a person who has a smarter kid than you. You know, everyone thinks their kids are honor students or honor roll students, but their kid might actually be super smart, go to Harvard, whatever. And I don't have kids, so I don't know, not a relevant example for me. But for me, maybe when I see other people that have a more successful business than me, maybe they started after me and they've already surpassed my numbers. That always kind of hurts a little bit inside because while I want to be happy for others, I would be lying if I said that I wasn't at least a little bit jealous or like, man, comparing, they got there in half the time. They're making more money. Their business is more successful more quickly. That's not fair, And it's funny how we compare ourselves to people who have more. And why do we do that? It's just weird, right? We tend to compare ourselves to the people who are killing it, who are crushing it, who have more than us. But here's a shift that I'd like to invite you to do and that I've done for myself as well. What if you compared yourself to people who have less than you? You can feel gratitude for everything that you've achieved and everything that you own and, the business accomplishments that you've had, the educational accomplishments, whatever it is. And if you really think about it, we have more now than kings and queens did way back in the day. Like they had to poop in a hole in the ground, I assume. I'm not sure the timeline of the toilet and when that came about. And I'm just trying to throw some humor in here, but now we literally have a squatty potty. We've got bidets if you want that. We've got baby wipes and we have everything at our fingertips. We have all this amazing technology just in our bathroom alone. Plumbing, hot water, cold water, right? Imagine living in the elements back in the day when it was super hot or super cold. And maybe you could build a fire, when the cavemen figured out how to do that. But when it was super hot, other than fanning yourself or having someone fan you, that was it. There was no air conditioning. They didn't have great insulation and things like that to keep us safe from the elements, or even having to walk around barefoot back in the day, or some people even today may not have the money or resources to afford great shoes. I know my mom always tells me she grew up in a little town in Mexico. A little bit about my family. She had 11 siblings and her dad passed away from cancer when she was like 9. So she had to raise some of her younger siblings. Don't ask me why. I don't know. You know how these families have huge amounts of kids and I'm like, geez, why would you have so many kids if you can't support that? But I don't know. That's a side note. Anyway, she had a rough living coming up and she often walked around and ran around and played with her friends and family without shoes. And because of that, I guess she's got some bunions and she had to have like feet surgery now. And she always has trouble like fitting in shoes comfortably because of having to grow up in those types of conditions. And she recalls having to go to the market and buy food, beans and tortillas and things like that for the family. And they just had so many family members that she remembers, like her mom, my grandma, who has passed away, I think a year ago, unfortunately. She would throw a tortilla when the food was ready. And literally, like, if you didn't grab it, if you weren't fast enough, you might not get to eat that much, right? And the big hungry kids, the boys, I guess, that eat the most, they would be the ones to get all the food and the meals, right? And then everyone else would have to kind of like, oh, I guess beans for dinner will work for me. So I can't imagine having to live like that. And I've never had to, fortunately, I've always been into weightlifting and bodybuilding and things like that and eating a ton, eating even when I'm not hungry, just forcing myself to put more calories in my body to put more weight on. And that's a blessing, I'm blessed. But again, I don't want to put this on me. I just want to put this back to you and remind you that yes, things can always be better, but they can also be worse. And most of the times we always think of how much better things could be and how much nicer it would be to have that car that we want, the goals that we want to hit, the house that we want to buy, that vacation rental. We have things that others would really envy, and someone out there would love to have the exact life that you're living right now. That puts it in perspective. I was trying to find the image that I saw on social media somewhere. I couldn't really find it. I didn't know, when you're trying to find a meme or an image and you're just Googling random things and it's not popping up. I was doing that, but there was this picture of a young girl, I don't know, maybe not even a teenager, like 10 or something like that, celebrating a birthday party, I assume in another country. The walls are messy, it's dirty. I think if I recall correctly, family, the kids are like matted in mud and like the floors are literally dirt floors. The walls might have been green and there's like crayons and stuff drawn all over the place. And they're celebrating her birthday. She's got a cake and she's blowing out the candles and they've got some chips on the table and things like that. They're having a little bit of a party. And I like to think, because I have been to other countries, that they're happy in that they are enjoying it and that they really don't even know how life is on the other side because that's all they've ever known. So I truly believe that they can be happy in that moment, even though for someone who's looking at the image from the comfort of an air conditioned or heated house might feel sympathy for them. I do believe that they still feel grateful for everything that they have. If you've ever noticed that, it's funny how you go to different countries. I used to travel a lot. My dad's from India, my mom's from Mexico. I've been to a ton of different countries. You often see kids having fun and playing, and maybe they're kicking around a little soccer ball in the dirt without shoes on or anything, and they're having a blast, versus kids nowadays, I feel, they get the iPad, they get the video games, and they still throw a fit because they didn't get the game they wanted. They don't have that newest version of the iPad or whatever that they wanted. I see this happen all the time, and I'm just like, gosh, we don't know how good we have it oftentimes, and other people would love to have our lives. In any case, they are making the most of their lives, and we need to make the most of our lives and what we have, right? We can always strive for more. I think it's healthy to have that push to achieve more, to want more, to do more, but we also have to have that gratitude for what we have now, because again, comparison is the thief of joy. The more we compare ourselves to others, the more unhappy we're going to be when we realize that we're never going to have everything. We can't. We're in this chase to acquire things and stuff and toys, but the line that I love is that you never see a hearse towing a U-Haul. There's never a U-Haul or trailer behind a hearse. You can't take it with you when you're gone. And I think it's important to make your impact on the world, to create a legacy that will live on past you when you go. But in terms of stuff and toys and things, that's all things that you can't take with you. Maybe you can hand it to your family and friends, but a lot of times they don't care about it. Your boat or your cool car that you end up working so hard for, maybe your kids or whoever you leave it to in your will, they're gonna be like, I don't even like boats that much. I get seasick. I don't want it. I'm just gonna sell it and take the cash and put it into my own passion. We all are unique and we all have different interests and things like that. And so remember this as you go about your day. Try not to get too caught up in the whole comparison game, because ultimately it's you versus you. I've said this time and time again. Compare yourself to yesterday, compare yourself to a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you're making progress, if you've come a long way, a lot of times it seems like these little squiggly lines, you feel the ups and the downs day to day, but when you zoom out, it's almost like looking at Bitcoin or stocks or investments. While there may be some volatile moments in the day-to-day and the week over week activities, when you zoom out, the thing tends to be trending up over time because you are making progress, you are learning. You know, the markets are improving, things like that. Think about what you're grateful for. Think of 3 things that you're grateful for that you have in your life that you often take for granted, because we all do that. Like for me, my health, I'm grateful for that. You know, my fiance, that would be another thing. My family, just supportive. The fact that everyone's here. It is tough to think about, but like I think my parents are getting older. My dad's almost 70. And I'm just like, man, I know I'm going to get a call one day that something happened and maybe he had a heart attack or something. Or my mom, like, God forbid, you know, car accidents, they happen all the time. You hear it on the news. We all think it's never going to happen to us, but we honestly never know. Could happen to me. I'm 31. I'm expecting to live till 95 or whatever. And I talk about this. I mean, I don't want to die anytime soon. I'm happy with the life I'm living and I'm pursuing every day to the fullest extent, but tomorrow's not promised. You know, maybe I won't even publish an episode next week if I'm not here. I realize that, and I'm so open about it. A lot of people are scared to talk about this, but it is the reality of the world that we live in, that this is temporary. The body is temporary. Our experience on this earth is temporary. So really do make the most of it. Do not get caught up holding grudges on stupid things and getting upset about things that don't matter at the end of the day. Be happy and grateful for what you have. Stop comparing yourself to others. It's you versus you at the end of the day. With that, I'm going to sign off and just leave you to it. Remember to make the most of your day. Just get a little bit better, 1% better every day, and you're well on your path. Look back 5 years from now and you'll thank me for thinking this way and realizing that yes, it's okay to want more, but yes, we also need to be grateful for what we have. So until next time, thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon.